Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to show you how to create an amazing and fat deep drum bass bassline. So let me quickly show you what I'm talking about. And we're going to look into the project, look into the preset, and let me turn a few things off and a few things on to give you a proper representation. And now let's place the bass line separately, and I'm going to play it in the context of the drums the second time around. Now let's play this with the drums. I think this is really awesome, and everyone could use a bass like that every now and then. Even if you're not making a deep drum bass track, if you're making liquid type of drum bass, sometimes you need cool, deep transition bass lines. So first thing that I think what makes this type of bass different than liquid drum bass or any other bass is that it has a lot of resonant peaks on the low ends. And you can see that I'm using some really weird filters here, like right here. If you look at my riffs, you can see a lot of crazy movement in the resonant peaks right here as well. I'm doing some of that stuff. I'm doing some tube and a little bit of movement right here. And I can show you that I'm actually adding a little bit more harmonics later on. So you can see that there's a lot of harmonic movements between 0 hertz and like 300 hertz. And I thought to myself that probably this is the recipe for deep drum bass, and I should talk about this more. So I decided to make this video. So if you look at the actual bass line, it's a really simple preset. So you might be asking yourself, should I separate the bass from the sub bass? And the answer is yes. So one of the reasons why I'm cutting out low end from this particular demo is that because we have a lot of resonant peaks in the lower section, like right here. There's like so much peaks there. If you could only look at that with Span Plus, you can see how much stuff is going on there. All of that is going to move and clash with your sub bass and create phasing issues. So what I'm doing here is I'm cutting that off. And even on, yeah, I don't even need this one actually. Let me turn that off. So you can see that. And then this one is for filtering out automation like that. Not an important thing. So I could remove this not to confuse you. But OTT that I'm using here is I'm using it without any, it doesn't affect any low end. So you can see that it's completely turned off. So basically I opened the preset, went with depth 23%. And cut off all the low ends. And that's how the bass started to sound. The Rift preset that I'm using here is called Trade-Off, but I changed it a little bit because it sounded a little too crazy, and I'm going to show you how you can do that. Let me open another instance of Riffs right here, completely anew. So let me play the preset to you back. And now if you go to mutated bass folder, you will find this amazing morphing preset called Trade-Off. It is pretty cool, but one thing that I find horrible about it is the amount of movement. So I already determined in the beginning of creating this little bass line that I wanted to be at this particular rate right here. So you can see the speed is 1/8 with a dot. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to actually take these movements from Rift and transform them into the movements that I need. So let's change 1/8 D. D means the same thing as the dot means in Serum. So that is the tempo. And I'm gonna change this one to basic, ramp down as well, and change these curves to 1/8 D. So now let's look at how they sound. So now we're extracting more of that growl sound. And it's pretty awesome because this is a really complex distortion that complements a resonance on the low end very nicely. So I can now play with the cutoff and it can transform the bass into even a deeper type of sound. So let's try that. If you want the sound to be a little bit more open, then ramp it up a little bit like that. What I did myself was using this preset only for like 20% or something like that. I didn't want it to be too open, and I played with the resonance a bit to make it a little bit crazier. Now let's play this together and see how it changes the sound. I think this is even better than the original preset that I made. Pretty awesome. Next thing that I do here is I'm using Kickstart for sidechaining. I'm not going to go into detail about that. I talk about this almost in every video, but what I do here is I cut off only everything from 0 Hertz to 194, because I want to turn off only the part which clashes with the kick drum and maybe a little bit with the sub bass. This is what you're currently hearing is what is ducking in the mid bass. The rest of it is completely on sidechained. So next thing I want to show you is this little equalizer that I'm using to push that harmonic. I want it to be even louder. I just really liked how it sounded, and I was also doing the mono compatibility test, and it felt like the bass was not present when I turned it off. You see, it doesn't really sound really good in mono, but if I open this little harmonic gives a little bit of sharpness to the sound in the mono mode. So now you see what I did to create a bass line like that, and the sub bass here is just playing to kind of make everything glue together, so it's not a big knowledge. This is like a variation I'm using, a really simple, similar type of sound with a few different wavetables, the same kind of editing, but I'm playing this in the background specifically with a little bit of Valhalla room for extra room, for extra width. And actually this one, what you just heard, is a variation of the transition bass that I have right here. So let's hear that. So this bass line, if you turn off all the filters and stuff like that, it's a really simple bass, also done out of the same preset, almost the same wavetables. The reason why I'm using this one is because it has a lot of Valhalla room on it. This is how it sounded originally, but I added a little bit of that distortion, a little bit of flanger for the movements, some dimension here, and Valhalla room because I wanted it to go like wide and then collapse into mono again once we go back to the beginning of the loop. So I created this awesome room right here. Wide, 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 wide. Boom, collapsed. I actually wanted to make this bass more mono, so I might want to do that as well. And one of the reasons is that the transition bass, which we just heard, the one with Valhalla room, it will open up very nicely and wide, and like it will be really wide. But once the loop goes back to the beginning, the narrow bass will create a lot of contrast. So let's see if we can switch the main bass to be a little bit more mono. Oh, this sounds pretty good. Let's see how this sounds. Yeah, you see the contrast is created by adjusting width where necessary. So it's pretty much like suspense. You create a lot of suspense and then like it drops. It's very similar to how you design the build-up with a lot of pads, atmospheres, arpeggios, and then it goes into this dry drop with bass lines, like mono bass lines and mono drums. that's kind of similar to that. So you just want to add some movement right here. I might even want to exaggerate this a little bit. So I'm going to create like a really weird synth here for more width. Let's try that. Let's try doing something crazy here. Let's add a lot of voices. Let's add some distortion. Remove some equalizer, add some compression. Remove some of the attack. It sounds a little bit noisy. Actually, let's remove the second wavetable. And now I want it to open up with Valhalla Room as well. But I want it to open up with a low pass filter in the end. So let's add this filter right here and make sure that it sounds 2 bars long. Now I'll add it to the new mixer track right here, number 11 actually. And because I got a snare here. And I'm going to open a lot of Valhalla Room. It's going to sound ridiculous, but I think that's what we're looking for. Oh, it's 2 bars. It's too low. It should be 4 bars, right? Let's just go like this. Quite a good fat sound, and it's going to create a lot of stereo. We maybe want to add a little bit more stereo even right here to come back as mono in the beginning of the loop. So let's try and trigger that and see what happens. I think the mid bass started to sound a little bit too fat, so let's... Yeah, I really like this contrast right now because the main bass is kind of pretty mono. Actually, I would say really mono. So that is a really crazy way of creating those bass lines. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you want to learn more, hit me up personally. I do one-on-one mentorship. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching this video.